For 8 years, my mother said that there just isn't enough room in the house for everyone. It turns out that there wasn't enough room for just me and my children. Now I have my own house by the sea, and guess what? Finally, there's enough room for everyone who deserves it. I'm Amelia, 36, female, single mom of 2. I've spent the last 8 summers pretending it didn't gut me when my mother, Evelyn, packed up her car, her husband, and my sister Olivia's perfect little family to head to our beach house without me. She'd send group texts, always the same: a photo of the ocean, a line about how it's so peaceful here, and maybe a selfie with Olivia and her kids in matching swimsuits. Never me, never my kids. It started with excuses. Oh, honey, the house is just too small. Or, it's too much chaos with all the kids. But somehow there was always room for Olivia's husband, their dog, even her in laws one year. My 2 kids, Max and Lily, were the only ones who didn't get invited. I used to swallow it. I told myself it wasn't worth a fight. I'd say things like, we'll do our own trip. But the truth was, every time those photos hit my phone, I'd feel something twist inside. Not just anger, something deeper, like humiliation. Like we were the extras in someone else's family movie. Olivia, 34, my sister, has always been the chosen one. Growing up, she was the one who got the piano lessons, the car at 16, the college fund. I got a pat on the back for being independent. I still remember when I got accepted to art school. Evelyn smiled and said, "That's cute, honey, but maybe you should pick something more practical." Fast forward to now. I'm a freelance graphic designer, not just scraping by, thriving. I built my business from my kitchen table after my divorce, working through nights while my kids slept on the couch beside me. I designed campaigns for tech startups, small businesses, even a few national brands. But to my mother, that's just playing with computers. Last summer, I offered to rent a nearby Airbnb so the kids could join the trip for a few days. I even said, "You don't have to cover a thing. I'll handle everything." Evelyn said, "Oh, Amelia, that's sweet, but it's really Olivia's time to rest. You understand, right?" No, I didn't. The final straw came 3 months ago. I called to tell them I'd landed a major client, an eco-resort chain. It was a big deal, the kind that could change everything. Olivia laughed, literally laughed. "Wow, must be nice to color on your laptop for money?" Evelyn chimed in, "Well, I hope you don't get too overwhelmed, sweetheart. You're not used to big projects." I hung up shaking. Not crying, shaking. My hands, my voice, my chest. Something broke quietly inside me that night. So I decided I was done waiting for room at their table. I'd build my own damn house by the sea. The funny thing is, it didn't always feel like war. When we were little, Olivia and I used to play mermaids in the bathtub and whisper secrets under the covers. She'd braid my hair before school, and I'd draw silly comics of us as superheroes: Liv the Lightning Girl and Millie the Maker. Somewhere along the way, she outgrew me. It started small: birthday gifts, attention, tone. Evelyn would say things like, "Olivia's always been so graceful," when I tripped, or "You could learn from your sister's focus," when I tried something creative. Olivia learned early that being adored meant being perfect. I learned that being myself wasn't enough. Dad used to be the balance between us. He saw me, the quiet one who stayed up, sketching under the kitchen light, who didn't ask for much. When he died, I was 22 and halfway through my first big freelance gig. After that, it was like the house turned colder overnight. Evelyn clung to Olivia like a lifeline, and I became a background character. When I got married at 24 to Jacob, who turned out to be a masterclass in emotional neglect, Evelyn barely came to the ceremony. "It's just so rushed," she told me. Meanwhile, when Olivia married 3 years later, my mom practically threw a royal wedding, hired a planner, booked a string quartet, bought Olivia her dress as a mother's gift. I didn't even get a card. The pattern never changed. Holidays, birthdays, everything tilted toward Olivia. When she had her first baby, Mom moved into her house for 2 months to help her recover. When I had Max, Mom texted, "Congrats, sweetheart. Can't wait to meet him once things calm down here." She showed up 4 weeks later with a monogram blanket for Olivia's baby. Still, I tried. Every year I called. I sent gifts. I offered to help with the beach house upkeep.
Hello everyone, today is my birthday, so I'd really appreciate your subscription and a like. Enjoy watching.
"You shouldn't worry about that," Evelyn would say, smiling, the kind of smile that meant you're not part of this conversation. The house itself was a symbol of everything: a weathered, pale blue cottage right off the dunes in Cape May, passed down from our grandmother. Growing up, it was magic. I'd spend hours collecting shells, painting the porch railing with my dad, watching storms roll in over the water. After he died, Evelyn started calling it her house. Not ours, hers. When Olivia's family started using it every summer, I tried not to make it a big deal. But Max and Lily noticed. Kids always do. "Grandma doesn't like us," Lily whispered once, after seeing Olivia's kids in matching swimsuits on Instagram. She was 6. "She's just busy," I lied. The night of that phone call, the one where they mocked my new client, I sat on my porch staring at the sea of invoices and sketches spread across my table. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I felt angry, electric, focused. They had their beach house. I would build something bigger. something that couldn't ignore me. So when I found a half-rotted property listing for an old resort down the coast, seaside haven, once a family-run inn, now abandoned and decaying, I felt something in my chest click. It wasn't logic, it was instinct. I drove down that weekend with the kids. The roof sagged, the sign was faded, the pool was filled with leaves and frogs, but the view, God, the view was breathtaking. The ocean stretched out like a dare. Max looked at me and said, "Mom, it looks sad." I smiled. "Then we'll make it happy again." That was the moment everything changed. Renovating Seaside Haven was like trying to rebuild myself, one splintered board at a time. The place was a disaster when I bought it. Mold on the walls, salt-stained floors, the faint smell of old sunscreen, and regret. Every real estate agent I spoke to looked at me like I was insane. "It's a money pit," one of them said. Maybe it was. But it was my money pit. I took out a modest business loan and used every penny of my freelance savings. For the first few weeks, it was just me, Max, and Lily showing up every morning with paint rollers and sandwiches in a cooler. I'd set up my laptop on a folding table and sketch logo ideas between sanding cabinets and answering emails. Some days I felt unstoppable. Other days, I sat on the porch staring at the ocean and wondered what the hell I was doing. The kids kept me going. Lily painted seashells and glued them along the windowsills. Max learned how to patch drywall from YouTube. When we'd finally finished one guest room, just one, the three of us camped out in it that night. The floor still creaked, the lights flickered, but it felt like a promise. I posted the renovation online, a few before and after shots, nothing fancy. Within a week, it blew up. Turns out people love a comeback story. Followers flooded in, then inquiries. Small weddings, retreats, weekend getaways. For the first time in my life, people were asking to come to my beach. When Evelyn found out, she called me in that tone she uses when she's pretending to be supportive but can't quite hide the jealousy. "You're really pouring yourself into this little project, aren't you?" she said. "It's not little, Mom," I replied. "It's a full resort. I'm reopening it by summer." She laughed softly. "Sweetheart, don't overextend yourself. These things are expensive. You don't want to embarrass yourself." Embarrass myself. That phrase followed me for weeks while I scrubbed tiles and painted railings until my hands blistered. Every bucket of plaster felt like a middle finger to that voice in my head that had always told me I wasn't enough. Olivia found out next, of course. She texted me one of her trademark fake supportive messages. "Saw your post. You're brave for trying something like that." I could never handle that kind of chaos. I wanted to reply, "You've never handled anything that wasn't handed to you." But I didn't. I was too busy hanging curtains. By spring, Seaside Haven was transformed. Not perfect, but alive. We'd replaced the roof, painted the shutters pale yellow, planted lavender along the walkway. The pool sparkled again. I designed the signage myself, simple, elegant serif font over driftwood. Seaside Haven, where everyone belongs. That line, "where everyone belongs," wasn't just a slogan. It was a message, a quiet declaration. The opening weekend was chaos, in the best way. Old clients showed up, friends from my design network, even a few cousins I hadn't seen in years, the ones who used to whisper sympathy when Evelyn cut me off mid-sentence at family dinners. Evelyn and Olivia didn't come. I didn't expect them to. But they definitely saw the photos online. Me and the kids, standing on the new deck, smiling under a sunset that didn't need anyone's approval. 2 weeks later, Olivia called for the first time in almost a year. "So," she said, her voice sugar sweet, "Mom and I were thinking of coming down for a visit. Maybe bring the kids. It's been so long." I could almost hear Evelyn in the background, prompting her. I smiled to myself, tracing the edge of my wine glass. "Oh, that's so sweet of you," I said, "but we're fully booked for the season." Silence, then a brittle laugh. "Really?" "Really," I said. "Guess there's just not enough room for everyone." The exact words Evelyn had said to me. And for the first time in 8 years, I didn't feel small saying them. I felt free. I should have known Evelyn wouldn't take no as an answer. She never had. It started with a text, one of those performative messages she sends when she wants to look like the bigger person. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart. It's wonderful that the kids finally get to see you accomplishing something meaningful." Meaningful. Like everything before, this had been a hobby. A week later, Olivia posted a photo on Instagram, her and her family, at the beach house, same as every summer, captioned, "Tradition is everything." Evelyn commented 3 heart emojis and tagged me beneath it, writing, "Wish you were here." It was bait. Pure bait. I didn't take it. I had guests to host, and Seaside Haven was thriving. Every weekend was booked solid. My kids had their own rooms in the manager's suite, and for the first time, we had dinner surrounded by laughter that didn't feel forced. But Evelyn couldn't stand being irrelevant. When attention shifted away from her, she'd start poking until she got a reaction. She called again a few weeks later, this time from a blocked number. I only answered because I thought it might be a client. "Amelia," she said, her voice clipped, "your little resort is causing quite a stir in the family. Your cousin told me you're charging people ridiculous rates. Don't you think that's taking advantage?" "Taking advantage?" I repeated. "Mom, it's called running a business. That's what adults do." "Well, your father's house." "Grandma's house," I corrected. That silence, sharp, offended, was everything I'd ever grown up with. Then she said it, the line that had been her favorite since I was a kid. You've always been so ungrateful, Amelia. I did everything I could for you, and you still act like the victim. My throat burned, but my voice came out steady. You didn't exclude me to protect Olivia. You did it because it made you feel powerful. She hung up. The next day, Olivia called, and unlike Mom, she didn't even try to sound calm. How could you embarrass her like that? Mom's been crying all morning. You need to apologize. For what? I asked Cora. For being cruel, she snapped. You know she didn't mean it all those years. I laughed, actually laughed. Didn't mean it? Olivia, she told me there was no room for me. For my kids. That wasn't an accident. That was a choice. There was a pause. Then quietly, she said, You've really changed, Millie. Yeah, I said. That's the point. But things didn't stop there. 2 weeks later, someone vandalized one of the resort's front signs. Spray paint. Fake Haven scrawled across the wood. The security cameras didn't catch a clear face, but I knew. The handwriting was too neat, too deliberate. Olivia had always been artistic. I didn't report it. I just had the sign redone in gold lettering. Bigger, brighter, impossible to miss. Then I posted a photo of the new one with the caption, You can try to ruin something real, but it'll still shine. That's when everything blew up. Family members started messaging me. Some saying Evelyn and Olivia were just hurt and I should make peace. Others quietly, saying they were proud of me for finally standing my ground. My cousin Rachel DM'd me a screenshot of a family group chat where Evelyn called me a selfish show-off who abandoned her family for Instagram fame. And honestly, reading it didn't hurt like I thought it would. It felt clarifying. So I decided to do something Evelyn would never forget. I planned an exclusive weekend event at Seaside Haven for family only. Except not her definition of family, mine. The ones who had actually shown up for me when it mattered. I sent out the invitations myself, every envelope sealed with gold wax and a little seashell pressed into the stamp. Aunts, cousins, friends who felt like siblings. My kids helped me label them all. When the last one was done, Lily asked, Should we send one to Grandma? I smiled. No, honey. Grandma's already had her vacation. Update. Hey, everyone. I didn't expect my last post about my mom and sister to blow up like this, but wow, thank you. The messages, the stories, the support. It means more than you know. Some of y'all said I should just cut them off forever. Others said I should invite them to see what they missed. I thought about it. But after what happened last week, no. Evelyn and Olivia showed up at Seaside Haven uninvited. I'll post soon with how that went down. Spoiler, it got loud. And one of them threw something. They came on a Friday afternoon, right when the sun was hitting the water in that warm, honey-colored way that makes you forget you're tired. I was standing near the lobby desk, going over check-in notes, when I saw Olivia's SUV pull into the parking lot. I froze. Her car door slammed first, then Evelyn's. Both of them were dressed like they were walking into a country club, not a coastal resort. Matching sun hats, manicured smiles, sunglasses big enough to hide a small country. For a split second, I thought maybe they'd just come to talk. Maybe this was their awkward olive branch moment. Then Evelyn saw the sign, the big hand-painted Seaside Haven, where everyone belongs, and her smile flickered into something brittle. They marched up the porch like they still owned the world. Olivia went straight for the door, ignoring the guests-only sign. Mom, I said, stepping between them and the entrance. You can't be here. Evelyn didn't even flinch. We're family, Amelia. Don't be ridiculous. Family doesn't need an invitation. I laughed under my breath. You've made that pretty clear. Olivia crossed her arms. You're seriously going to make this dramatic? We just wanted to see the place. Then you can see it from the road, I said, voice tight. I have guests checking in. That's when Evelyn's tone turned sharp, icy, cutting, like she was back in control. Don't take that tone with me. She gestured around the porch. This is built on your family's name. You don't get to rewrite history just because you painted a few walls. My hands started to shake, but not from fear this time. I'd been waiting for this moment, for her to say it, for her to try to shrink me back down to who I used to be. I looked her dead in the eyes. No, Mom. This was built on everything you left me out of. For a moment, it went dead silent. Even the ocean seemed to pause. Then Olivia stepped forward, eyes flashing. You're being cruel. You've turned into this bitter person who thinks success gives her the right to humiliate people. Humiliation? I said. You mean like when you spent 8 years posting family beach photos while pretending my kids didn't exist? Her voice cracked. That's not fair. You're right, I said. It's not. And then Evelyn snapped. Literally. She reached for a vase on the check-in counter, a ceramic piece my daughter had painted, and threw it down onto the floor. It shattered, splintering across the tiles. The guests in the lounge went dead. Silent. Lily, who had been upstairs with Max, came running down the staircase, her little face pale. Mom? She whispered. Evelyn suddenly looked terrified, maybe at herself, maybe at the fact that she finally lost the mask. I didn't mean to. I stepped forward slowly. You did. You always mean to. You just don't like when people see it. Then I took a deep breath, turned toward the guests, and said, calm as I could, I'm so sorry, everyone. These people are trespassing. Security will escort them out. It wasn't a bluff. I'd hired a retired cop named Don to handle late-night disturbances and drunk guests. He came out from behind the hallway, broad and solid, eyes cold. "Ma'am," he said to Evelyn, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." For a second I thought she might scream. But instead she just stood there trembling, cheeks blotched, lips pressed tight like she was swallowing glass. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "This family is forever." "Maybe yours is," I said quietly. "Mine's just starting." They left in silence, Olivia crying into her sleeve, Evelyn stomping toward the car like she still owned the pavement. When they were gone, I went to the back deck and just stood there, breathing. My legs felt weak, my hands numb. But underneath all of it was this deep, quiet satisfaction. It wasn't revenge yet, but it was the start. That night, I sat with Max and Lily by the fire pit outside. They roasted marshmallows, giggling about how Grandma looked like a mad cartoon. I didn't correct them. I just held them close and let the sound of the waves fill the space that used to ache. The next morning, I made a decision. If Evelyn and Olivia wanted to play public image games, I could play too, only better. So I went online, created an official Seaside Haven event page, and announced the Family Legacy Weekend, a private, all-expenses-paid celebration for the people who had always supported me and the kids, extended relatives, old friends, even my dad's brother and his wife. Evelyn and Olivia weren't invited. When the RSVP started rolling in, I couldn't help smiling. Every name was a quiet reminder that I wasn't alone, and that maybe, finally, they would learn what it feels like to be left out. The weekend arrived like a storm that decided to bring sunshine instead of rain. The Family Legacy Weekend was everything the old beach house trips never were. Warm, loud, joyful, messy in all the right ways. Every inch of Seaside Haven felt alive. Lanterns strung across the deck, tables lined with flowers. Lily had picked herself, a jazz trio playing softly near the bar. People came from everywhere. Cousins I hadn't seen since my dad's funeral. Aunt Rachel, who always slipped me 20s as a kid, my old art school roommate who drove 4 hours just to see what rebellion looks like in real life. I greeted every single one of them, hugged them, thanked them, made sure their rooms were perfect. It wasn't about showing off. It was about creating something my kids could look around at and think, we belong here. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Several family members pulled me aside quietly to say, "I can't believe your mom's not here. She must be fuming." Oh, she was. Evelyn had already called twice that morning, both times from different numbers. I didn't answer. Then came the text, "How dare you exclude your own mother from a family celebration? You've humiliated me, Amelia. Your father would be ashamed." I stared at it for a full minute before replying, "Dad would have been proud I finally stopped begging to be invited." Then I turned off my phone. The first night of the event was perfect. We had a bonfire on the beach, and everyone told stories about my dad, about how he used to grill fish on that old rusted pit behind the cottage, how he'd whistle off-key whenever he was nervous. My kids laughed at every memory, like they'd just been handed a part of their grandpa they'd never gotten to know. At one point, Aunt Rachel came up beside me, holding her drink, watching Max help a younger cousin toast marshmallows. "You know," she said softly, "you remind me of your dad when he bought that beach house. Everyone told him it was a mistake too." That nearly broke me. I had to look away, pretending to check the fire just so she wouldn't see my eyes watering. Then came the inevitable. Late Saturday night, right as the music started, Olivia showed up, alone this time. Hair windblown, mascara smudged like she'd been crying the whole drive. She stood by the gates, clutching her purse, eyes darting nervously at all the parked cars. I walked toward her slowly, every muscle tight. "Olivia," I said, voice level. "You can't be here." "Please," she said. "Just 5 minutes. I just need to talk to you." I hesitated, then nodded toward the boardwalk. 5 minutes, away from everyone. We walked in silence until we reached the dunes. The sound of waves filled the air. She was shaking. "I didn't spray paint your sign," she blurted out. "Mom made me drive her here that night. She said it'd teach you humility." I tried to stop her. I didn't say anything. I just watched her, trying to decide if she meant it. "She's losing it, Millie," Olivia whispered. "After you kicked her out, she's been different. Obsessing over everything you post, saying you stole her legacy. She told people she's going to sue you for using the family name." I exhaled slowly. "And you came here to warn me?" Tears welled in her eyes. "No, I came because I'm sorry for everything. I let her make me think you were the problem. But you were just surviving." Something in me softened then. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. Olivia had been raised on Evelyn's approval, the same way I'd been starved of it. Different cages. Same bars. "I'm not the enemy, Liv," I said quietly. "I just stopped playing the game." She nodded, tears spilling over. "I know, I just wish I'd realized it sooner." Then she did something I didn't expect. She pulled a small envelope from her bag and handed it to me. "It's a photo," she said, "of you and Dad. Mom kept it hidden in a drawer. I thought you should have it." I opened it right there. It was me, maybe 10 years old, sitting on my dad's shoulders on that same stretch of sand where we stood now. Both of us laughing, sun in our eyes. For a moment, everything felt still. The past, the pain, all of it, suspended between waves. "Thank you," I said softly. Olivia nodded and turned to leave. Before she walked away, she looked back once. "Mom's going to show up tomorrow," she warned. "You should be ready." I watched her car disappear into the night, the taillights fading like embers. When I went back to the party, my kids were dancing barefoot in the sand, the air full of music and salt. I smiled and joined them, pretending everything was normal. But inside, I knew tomorrow would change everything, because if Evelyn was truly coming, I wasn't planning to hide anymore. Evelyn didn't disappoint. She arrived the next morning exactly like I expected, late enough to make an entrance, early enough to catch everyone's attention. I saw her before she saw me, stepping out of a black sedan in her beige linen suit, pearls glinting in the sun like armor. She was carrying a gift bag, which I knew wasn't really a gift. Evelyn didn't do generosity unless it came with strings attached. Half the guests were on the deck eating breakfast when she strutted across the gravel drive, smiling that tight, polite smile that could slice glass. A hush rippled through the crowd. Even the kids went quiet. I was standing near the check-in desk, coffee in hand. When she spotted me, her smile widened like we were in some Hallmark reunion movie. "Amelia, darling," she cooed, her voice honeyed and brittle. "I thought it was time we put this nonsense behind us. Families should be together on weekends like this." I didn't move. "You weren't invited, Mom." Her face twitched just slightly, but she recovered fast. "Don't be silly. I'm your mother. I have every right to be here." Then, loudly enough for everyone on the deck to hear, she said, "You wouldn't exist without me, dear. This place wouldn't exist without me." I took a slow sip of my coffee and met her eyes. "Actually, it exists because of what you didn't do." A few relatives nearby turned to watch. I could feel the weight of every conversation stop. She pressed a hand to her chest dramatically, as if I'd wounded her. "Do you hear yourself? After everything I've done for you?" I tilted my head. "Everything you've done to me, you mean?" Her tone sharpened. "Oh, please, Amelia. You've always been the difficult one, always so ungrateful, always needing to make a spectacle." And that's when my plan finally came into play. I turned toward the dining area, where my uncle was setting up a small projector for the slideshow we'd planned for later. "Actually, Mom," I said, raising my voice so everyone could hear, "you're just in time. We're about to show something special." Evelyn frowned. "What are you talking about?" I gestured to my uncle, who nodded and dimmed the patio lights. The projector flickered on against the white canvas sheet we'd hung between two posts. A slideshow began. Photos of my dad, my kids, the renovations, the guests who helped rebuild Seaside Haven. Then came the last slide. A quote, in my own design style. "Family isn't who keeps you in the picture, it's who builds it with you." Evelyn froze. The next image rolled in. A photo taken the night before. Me, Max, and Lily, standing in front of the resort, arms around each other, smiling under the sign that read, "Where everyone belongs." Applause filled the deck. Some people even stood. I didn't plan for that part. It just happened. Evelyn's face turned crimson, then pale. She looked around and realized that, for the first time in her life, she wasn't the one commanding the room. "You planned this," she hissed under her breath. "No, Mom," I said quietly. "I just stopped hiding." She glared at me, eyes glassy. "You think you're better than us now?" I smiled softly. "No. I just know I don't need your approval anymore." Her composure shattered. She swung her hand toward the projector table, knocking over a tray of drinks. Glass shattered. Someone gasped. Max stepped forward instinctively, but I reached out and held his hand. "Let her go," I whispered. Evelyn stood trembling, chest heaving, realizing what she'd just done. A few family members moved between us, murmuring awkwardly. Olivia wasn't there, thank God, but I could see someone recording with their phone from the deck. Evelyn noticed too. That was the final blow. Her voice cracked. "You've ruined this family." "No," I said calmly. "You just finally stopped being able to control it." She stormed off toward the parking lot, her heels sinking into the sand, leaving a jagged trail of footprints that the tide would erase within the hour. After she was gone, I stood there for a long time, just breathing. The ocean shimmered behind me, and the air smelled like salt and new beginnings. My guests slowly resumed their laughter. The music came back, and Lily slipped her small hand into mine. "Are we okay, Mom?" she asked. I smiled. "We're more than okay." That night, after everyone went to bed, I sat alone on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. I looked out at the water, at the resort I'd rebuilt, with my own hands, and I realized something simple but powerful. I hadn't just reclaimed my dignity, I'd rewritten the story. And this time, it didn't end with exclusion. It ended with peace. Update 2. Hey again, everyone. I wasn't going to post another update, but a few of you asked what happened after the big blow-up. So here's the short version. Evelyn hasn't spoken to me since that weekend. Olivia did, though. She's been visiting quietly, privately, and trying to untangle her own mess with Mom. And Seaside Haven? It's thriving? We just broke ground on a second location, a mountain resort in Vermont. Funny how things come full circle. For years, my mother said there wasn't enough room for me. Now, I own the places that prove there's room for everyone. It's been almost 2 years since that weekend, and sometimes I still wake up expecting to hear the crash of that vase. Evelyn's voice slicing through the air, the old panic in my chest. But it doesn't come anymore. Just the ocean, and the sound of the gulls, and Lily's laughter drifting in from the balcony. Seaside Haven is unrecognizable now. The paint's fresh, the gardens bloom year-round, and there's a framed picture of my dad hanging behind the front desk, his arm around me, both of us squinting against the sun. Beneath it, I added a small plaque that reads, "Built from love, not permission." We've hosted everything from weddings to writing retreats. Guests leave little notes in the lobby guest book about how the place feels like home, how it's healing to be here. Every time I read one, I think about that little girl who used to wait by the phone for a call that never came, hoping her mother would finally say, "Come join us." That girl finally stopped waiting. Evelyn never did come back. The last time I heard from her, she sent a letter, 2 pages of tight handwriting, the kind where every word looked like it was trying not to shake. She said she didn't understand how things got so out of hand, that she missed the good old days. There wasn't an apology, not really, just nostalgia, wearing guilt like perfume. I didn't write back, but I didn't hate her anymore either. I think that's what healing actually looks like. Not forgiveness, not revenge, just freedom from caring, whether they ever understand. Olivia visits sometimes. She comes alone, usually in the off-season. She brings her kids, and they run barefoot across the same sand that once felt like forbidden ground. The first time she came, she cried on the porch, saying she wished she'd defended me sooner. I told her the truth, that we were both daughters raised in different kinds of silence. Now she helps me design new ideas for the resort. Menus, decor, small creative touches. She's good at it, even if she doesn't believe it yet. It's strange watching her finally find herself outside of Evelyn's orbit. I guess we both did. Max is 14 now. Lily's 11. They still tease me about Grandma's meltdown weekend, though I make them call it the great turning point when we're around guests. They know what I built wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. About showing them that sometimes the only way to be part of something beautiful is to build it yourself. The second resort, the mountain one in Vermont, is nearly finished. It's smaller, cozier, tucked in the pines, with a big stone fireplace and a wall of windows that catch the snow. I named it Haven Ridge. Max came up with the tagline, "A place for second chances." When we open, we'll hang another sign, same font as the one at Seaside Haven. This time, though, I think I'll add something extra. A small shelf from that first summer when we found the resort falling apart and decided to make it happy again. Last week, a family checked into Seaside Haven, a mom and 2 kids. The mother looked exhausted in that way only single parents do, like she's been holding her breath for years. When I showed her to her room, she turned to me and said, "It's beautiful here. It feels like it was made for people like us." And maybe it was. That night, after everyone was asleep, I walked down to the water. The moonlight hit the waves just right, and I thought about all those summers Evelyn and Olivia spent in that other house, pretending it was the only place that mattered. But here I was. Barefoot in the sand, the ocean humming against the shore. My children sleeping safely inside a home I'd built from nothing. Maybe I'll never get a real apology. Maybe Evelyn will go to her grave believing she was right. But it doesn't matter anymore. I found something better than her approval. I found peace and space and belonging, the kind that can't be given or taken away. And as the tide crept up around my feet, I whispered the words that had carried me through everything. "There's room for everyone here." Then I turned back toward the lights of Seaside Haven, glowing steady and soft against the dark, and went home.